year was 1995, and Victor Bakal was now 77 years old. He was reading his journal of past close encounters, for in his old age he had not given up on his research into possible extraterrestrial life on Earth. As Victor read, he stroked his long gray beard in frustration. There must be some small detail, some seemingly insignificant fact that I overlooked, he thought to himself. As Victor read the journal over and over again, his thoughts became scattered. As Victor's mind wandered, panic soon followed. First he would break out in a sweat, and then have the overwhelming fear that someone was watching him. He would then clench his journal to his chest as if his life depended on it, as he closed the blinds in his small home office and poured himself a glass of whiskey, which he guzzled down for courage before he stumbled to his chair where he sat for the next 2 to 4 hours, waiting for something, anything, to happen. This occurred just about every day at around the same time, and always came to the same conclusion. Victor would sit in darkness and nothing would happen. This gave Victor mixed emotions. He was relieved that nothing happened to him, but at the same time it meant that he was wrong. This grew into anger, and this anger grew into sadness, which led to more drinking. Victor had not felt hope or true happiness since 1950. His sole purpose was to feel that way again, but to no avail. After consuming 2 or 3 more glasses, Victor would pass out on his desk or leather couch and dream of better times. Tonight, Victor had returned to his childhood. The year was 1927, and the place was the Russian town of Pokrov. Victor was 9. He was in the forest with his 2 childhood friends, Boris and Nikolai. Victor looked up at the sky and saw a shooting star. He saw it heading toward the lake, but when he went to find where it crashed, there was nothing, not even a dent. He looked up to a blinding light. He awoke in a cold sweat. He patted down his chest with his hands, only to find his journal was missing. He sprang to his feet with a spryness he had not felt in years. The old disoriented man scoured the dark room, but the book was nowhere to be found. After turning over almost the whole room, his body started to ache and tremble, for he was no longer the boy he was in the dream. As he fell to the floor, all he could do was think about the time at which he lost everything, in February of 1950. At this point in time, Victor was the leading xenobiologist for Russia. He was sent to New Mexico to keep tabs on the American discovery of a UFO in Roswell, New Mexico. It was a rather cold night, and he was driving along the outskirts of the desert, as he did every night. And yet, far out in the dusty orange glow of the desert, he saw a glimmering light. He thought to himself, could I have finally caught a break? Is this glistening light the key to my success? As he approached the light, the sun set and the sky grew dark, while the light started to turn a greenish color. Victor's heart pounded. When he finally reached the green light, he saw a huge white tarp covering something big. The young Victor tried to calm himself as he reached out and ripped off the tarp. Underneath was something Victor had waited his whole life to see again. It was a UFO. Victor's first thought was how this discovery of an alien cover-up would affect the nationalistic spirit of America. He hurriedly called his superiors, and within the next 2 days, a team of Russia's top scientists arrived in Los Burlos, New Mexico. They drove directly from the airport to the UFO site. The scientists studied the site for a total of 4 hours before they found below the titanium shell was a wooden structure. For Victor was right, there had been a cover-up. The city was covering the novelty UFO before its planned opening a week later. Victor had never felt such immense despair or embarrassment. Victor was discredited as a scientist and blacklisted, hindering his chances of ever getting another job. Victor came to on the splintering planks of his home office, looking vacantly up at the chipping paint on the ceiling. Victor fumbled for the lights in the room, and when he reached them he clicked them on. It burned his eyes and he quickly turned it off before he went to vomit in the nearest garbage can. That's when Victor saw it, a black Suburban outside with 2 men in plain suits. Victor, still hungover, staggered down the stairs as fast as he could and went into his basement, to the lockbox which held his revolver. As he grabbed the worn leather handle, he thought to himself, this must be it. After 48 years of flying under the radar, they have finally caught on to me. Oh my god, no, my journal. Victor forced his way up 2 flights of stairs, running on pure adrenaline. A sense of fear had come over him, and was immediately followed by an unexplainable sense of euphoria. Victor finally felt that he wasn't crazy. All those years of locking himself in his office had a point. The paranoia, the insomnia, all worth it. He dashed into his office and hurdled the coffee table. He looked behind the couch and under the radiator, and there it was, his journal. He snatched it up and squeezed it into his chest harder than he ever had before. Slowly now, Victor crept out of the back of his house, pausing every few seconds to look around. Victor climbed into his weather-beaten 1970s Mustang, turning the key to ignition. He started to peel out of the driveway before being cut off by the black Suburban. One of the sharply dressed men walked up to the car and tapped on the window and said, "Mr. Bakal, may we have a word with—" Bang! A gunshot rang out. The sharply dressed man's body fell to the ground. Victor had never killed anyone before, but it did not feel how he expected it to. Partially from the alcohol and partially from nausea, Victor opened his door and threw up. While Victor was wiping away the vomit from his mouth, he noticed the peculiar expression on the dead man's face. It was fear, something Victor would never expect to see on the face of an elite alien hunting agent. Around this time, Victor remembered that there had been another man in the car. He was gone. Victor saw a small off-white letter in the man's jacket pocket. It was a letter that read, "Mr. Bakal, our organization would like to purchase your land for twice what you had paid for it. Our corporation believes there might be a pocket of oil beneath it and hopes to hear from you soon." So there sat Victor Bakal, in a pool of another man's blood, with another one going for help. Victor's lifelong search ended as it always had, in bitter defeat and a new-found sense of self-loathing.